Hey, how are you? I hope you're excited about reading some books today. Always a good day for books. Always a good day for Book Circle. Always a good day to say, welcome, we're glad you're here. Hello, dear friends. Welcome, we're glad you're here. Hello, dear friends. We are going to take a look at another one of the book series of Little Miss books. We've already read two. The first one we read was Little Miss Bossy, and we found out Little Miss Bossy was really quite bossy. Really enjoyed telling people what to do and had some difficulties in relationships because of that. And Little Miss Naughty, well, she made it like her plan was to do things that would be difficult for other people. But now you're inside the series and you know and you've figured out that you're a great friend. You wouldn't act like this. And you're a great friend. You wouldn't act like this. So these books are like silly. They're like exaggerations of outrageous stuff. And it helps us look at manners and how we talk to each other and being good to each other in kind of a playful way. Joking at ourselves, joking at the idea. It's just a fun set of books. And today in Book Circle, we're going to read the third one. But first, for goodness sakes, let's open and shut them, open and shut them. Give a little clap, clap, clap. Open and shut them, open and shut them. Put them in your lap, lap, lap. Creep them, crawl them, creep them, crawl them. Underneath your chinny chin chin. Oh no. Uh-oh. Sometimes that gets broke. There it is. Open your mouth. But don't you let them. Don't you let them. Don't you let them. Don't you let them in. All right. Let's take a look at the third book. It is the same author because he wrote all the books in the Little Miss and the Little Mister series. And that is the author Roger Hargreaves. And the name of this Little Miss book is Little Miss Neat. Little Miss Neat. Little Miss Neat. Little Miss Neat was a very tidy person. Probably the tidiest person in the world. She lived in Two Pin Cottage. It was called Two Pin Cottage because she kept it as neat as two pins. She couldn't stand a mess. Every day, she spent all day polishing and dusting and cleaning and making sure that things were in their proper places. Everything in its place, and everything has a proper place. There she is at her house. One morning, Little Miss Neat awoke in her bedroom at Two Pin Cottage. She looked out of her bedroom window. What do you think she saw? Do you see any hints? It had been raining during the night, and there was a puddle in the middle of her garden path. Well, someone who's neat probably wouldn't like a puddle. Sounds like there might be mud. running, running, running. Oh, she gasped in a horror and rushed outside with a duster. She snapped up every drop of puddle, and then she rushed inside and washed the duster, and then she ironed the duster, and then she folded the duster, and then she placed the duster in a very neatly, tight as a pin, back in the drawer. Everything in Two Pin Cottage was once again in its place. Running back and forth and in and out, ironing to clean up a puddle. Have you ever cleaned up a puddle? I've jumped in mud puddles, but not cleaned up a puddle. Oh, it looks like perhaps she's going somewhere. Is that a suitcase? Let's see. Now this story is about the time Little Miss Neat went on a holiday. Holidays like vacation. She always went away for 1 week every summer, and this year was no different. She spent 2 weeks packing, and then she spent a whole day polishing her suitcase. Wow. And then off she set, leaving Two Pin Cottage as spick and span and neat and tidy. 2 weeks packing, a whole day polishing the suitcase. So that's a lot of work to have fun. Okay, what is she doing? Looks like she's going. She's walking. I got you, baby. Oh, I hope it doesn't get too dusty while I'm away, she thought as she closed the door behind her. But something worse than dusty was going to happen to Two Pin Cottage. Would you like to know what? Would you like to know? I'd like to know. Mr. Muddle came to tea. He'd written to Miss Neat to tell her, but being Mr. Muddle, he sometimes got into a muddle about remembering, and maybe he didn't send the letter. Actually, what happened was when Mr. Muddle went to post the letter, he had the letter in one hand and a half-eaten sandwich in the other, and he mailed the half-eaten sandwich and finished eating the letter. He posted a cheese sandwich. It'll be nice to see Miss Neat again, said Mr. Muddle. He chuckled to himself as he walked home. That sandwich is a bit chewy. That's because you're eating your letter. There's Mr. Muddle. It was the next day after Miss Neat left that Mr. Muddle arrived. He walked up on the garden path to Twin Pin Cottage and knocked on the door. No reply. No one answered. It should have been, "Hello, I'm glad you're here," but he wasn't called, and Mr. Muddle was standing there doing nothing. Nobody home, he called. And then he pushed open the door. Oh my, that's bold. Oh dear, he thought as he looked around, nobody's home. Never mind, he thought, I'll make myself a cup of tea and wait for Miss Neat. I look forward to our tea time. So he went into the kitchen of Two Pin Cottage, made himself a cup of tea and waited. And waited, and waited, and waited. And then he went home. Reminds me of Mr. Wiggle and Mr. Waggle. There's little Miss Neat. She looks happy coming home from her holiday. Little Miss Neat stepped out of the taxi outside Two Pin Cottage. "Oh, that was a lovely holiday," she said, paying the taxi driver. "But it's nice to be home." She walked up the garden path and went in through the door. Looks like she's under the kitchen sink. What do you think she's getting? "Not too dusty," she said to herself, looking around. "I think I'll make myself a nice cup of tea before I start unpacking." But making tea after a Mr. Muddle visit isn't quite as easy as it sounds. What do you think happened? What do you think happened with Mr. Muddle? Let's see. Okay, we're gonna see. Little Miss Neat eventually found the teapot, not in its proper place. The teapot was in the refrigerator. And she eventually found the milk, not in its proper place. It was in the teapot. And the tea was in the sugar bowl, and the cup in the oven, and the saucer in the bread bin, but she couldn't find a teaspoon. She could not. Her neat as a two-pin cottage was a muddled Mr. Muddle mess. And Mr. Muddle's gonna call and check in and say, "Hey, how come when we were supposed to have tea, you weren't there?" The telephone rang. Little Miss Neat picked it up. "Hello?" "Hello?" At the other end of the line, Mr. Muddle suddenly realized he was holding the telephone the wrong way. Oh, he had to turn it around. She couldn't. They couldn't hear each other. "Goodbye," he said. "Wait, who's that?" said Miss Neat. "It's you," replied Mr. Muddle. She didn't mean, "Who am I?" She meant, "Who are you calling me?" Miss Neat thought, "It's Mr. Muddle, isn't it?" she guessed. "I wonder how she knew it was me," he's thinking. "Yes," replied Mr. Muddle, getting it right for once. "And you paid me a visit while I was away on holiday, didn't you?" "Yes," replied Mr. Muddle, getting it right twice. "Can I come and see you now that you're back?" "I suppose so," sighed Miss Neat. "Goodbye." "Hello," said Mr. Muddle, and he put the phone down. Little Miss Neat was looking at the phone. Little Miss Neat sighed a heavy sigh. Almost a yawn. And she sat down in the armchair next to the phone. "Ouch!" And she looked under the cushion. She looked under the cushion of the purple chair. There were all her teaspoons and knives and forks. I don't think Little Miss Neat will be taking a holiday next year, do you? Mr. Muddle made a muddle of a mess. Our hands say thank you with a clap, 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 and our feet say thank you with a stamp, stamp, stamp. Clap, 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 stamp, stamp, stamp. Story time's over, and that, my friends, is that. Namaste. Be you, and know we need who you are. You're the only one who can be that star inside of you, shining love.